Hello, everyone. Welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It is the final WMR of August 2025 because it's the 28th, 27th, actually. Sorry, I'm getting my days mixed up. I'm eager to get the month over with, Quinn, because nothing happens in September on this podcast. It's a great time where nothing bad happens.
Distinctly,
so,
yeah. We will never do anything interesting during September. There's no like catchy month name or anything for it. You know, it's just kind of nice and relaxing. Not like awful August. You know, that one sucks. Boo! No one likes awful August.
It's such good rhyming, not rhyming. It's like the opposite of rhyming, where you rhyme the first syllable of the
alliteration.
It's not even. It's because it's not even.
Awful August would be alliteration. Yeah, it's the same sound, essentially.
The same sound, I think, is a different term. But yes, it is also alliteration.
Yeah.
Just as also alliteration is alliterative. Haha. Oh my god. I had it. Quinn. Nicole discovered these energy drinks about a month and a half or so ago. And they don't have any sugar in them. So every now and again, like today, when I'm just like doing really bad, sometimes I'll take one with me to work, and it does just like give me a boost, and I literally don't have a crash because there's no sugar in them. But I am just kind of wild until the caffeine wears off. So I'm a little bit weird right now, but I'm okay.
Do you want me to go pop an edible and we can like balance out the energy a little bit? It's just you talking and then me passed out on the mic.
So I might start off like really high and then like resume my normal grumpy attitude by the time we're like halfway through the show.
Oh, you're gonna start off super positive, no doubt, because of the series we're gonna be discussing, which you're a big fan of.
Oh boy. Yeah. So the series that we're talking about today is a shoujo series. It's called Absolute Boyfriend. It's a shoujo comedy romance by Yu Watase, who's best known for having previously made Fushigi Yugi, which is a series that I've never read, but I definitely heard of just by purely the title alone. That struck like, oh, I know what that is. But Absolute Boyfriend, it's about a high school girl named Riiko Izawa. She's got no luck in her love life. Strikes out every time that she confesses to a guy until one day when she's bemoaning her circumstances, she meets the weirdest, dumbest salesman alive who gets her to half mistakenly purchase, quote unquote, a life-size doll. He's kind of referred to is an artificial.
He's a robot. Let's be clear. He's a robot.
He's an artificial ultimate male lover that she ends up naming Knight because like on the model package it says like nightly lover model or something, and so she's just like Knight, and because there was pressure on her. Okay, there was pressure, and it's hard to come up with names at the drop of a hat. You ever like play D&D and you have to come up with the name of an NPC when you're not prepared to? Oh no, you just look around yourself for the name of something.
That's why, fun DMing tip, you should come up with a list of just random names. Just keep it in the side of your DM sheet. Just grab one of them whenever you need it.
That's a great tip. Thank you, Quinn.
Yeah.
That's what we come to talk about Shoujo Series 4 as D&D tips.
Riiko would be a character who would absolutely play some D&D in that she would sit at the table, not know what's happening, complain, leave, and then probably get like kidnapped on the way home because this girl she just loses consciousness sometimes.
Riiko would have 2 lovingly written character sheets, and she would never be able to decide which one she wants to play throughout the entire campaign. She would constantly be like, can I just play this character instead? And then be like in the middle of the session, be like, can I play this one instead? And then we'd be like, oh my god, the party balance is completely wiped out because you won't figure out if you want to play a druid or a cleric. Fuck you. So Riiko ends up with this artificial ultimate male lover robot guy that she names Knight, but far from solving all of her life's troubles, instead it creates all sorts of bizarre, wacky shenanigans that she has to go through, not least of which is that it turns out her childhood friend and next door neighbor has been in love with her for a very long time, and so she's in the middle of a love triangle. Absolute Boyfriend, aka Zettai Kareshi. It ran semi-monthly in Shoujo Comic from March 2003 to February 2005. It's been adapted into 3 live-action TV series, one produced in Japan, one in Korea, one in Thailand. And it's available on Viz if you want to read all of it.
Now, Nick, you said something very surprising to me. This came out in the early 2000s. I couldn't tell.
Who would have?
I couldn't tell based on the fashion, the cell phones, or very specifically, as I posted to the Discord, the one cover page that has Night with just the lamest tribal tattoos I've ever. Like, one is her name with like tribal markings around it. One is a neck tattoo, like a collar of a tribal tattoo that I was like, that's already a lot. And then one is a belly button one that I was like, no.
So tiny.
I was like, I don't.
It's so clearly like a design that's like meant to go on like the shoulder blade and has just been shrunk down.
Yeah.
On the belly.
It's one of those ones where you're like, I can't imagine anyone who had taste designed this. Essentially, like Knight must not have been programmed to look cool if he's giving himself that tattoo.
There is a lot of big DeviantArt energy in the way that like every male character in this series appears. Is the salesmen with their wacky, not steampunk outfits.
That dude's straight. Like it's like late 2000 or early 2000s, late 90s. Yeah, I was like, this dude was straight from something. I feel like.
And also in sensibilities in terms of gender dynamics and the way that women should behave in relationships, even when keeping in mind you want to say the author is a woman.
Yes. An interesting woman as well, based on the little blurb she gives in the each chapter.
I straight skipped those.
I skipped most of them, but every so often there was an interesting one. The one that really tickled me was the entry that was just talking about going to American websites. I guess it was like an American website for some game or something like that, and they posted on there that they're like, oh, Americans make such great websites, and I'm like, not anymore, but in early 2000s, yeah, we had some baller ass websites. Also,
that's true.
She did note at one point she went to America and bought a box of cereal that was like 2 boxes put together, and she's like, I just ate that for an entire week, that like for $5. Like, America's great, you can live like a king. And I was like, yeah, I guess that is the thought process you could use.
I feel honestly, the way that the author writes Riiko in this, it kind of makes sense now.
A little bit of it, yeah.
Oh boy. Now, I had the feeling while going through the series, because my first impression, especially if you go into the Viz site and you get that, wonderful splash image that you get on a lot of manga sites, where it's like, oh, here's a character, and it gives you a vibe of the series right away. The bedroom eyes that Knight is making towards you, the viewer. Yeah, I mean, I kind of most of the series matched the vibe that I got when I first saw that, which was, okay, yeah, this is a series that's going to have hot dudes in it, and it's going to have a lot of like sort of wish fulfillment for especially hetero women. Is definitely it's definitely like a hetero women.
If your wish
fantasy thing,
yeah, I was gonna say, if your wish fulfillment allows for a little bit of like a shitty person being your significant other, then like, yeah, you're in for a pretty cool time, because
that's just manga in general. So.
Look, you're not getting out of this without a little dicey circumstances these characters are getting inserted into. Case in point, the way you turn on your nightly lover model is to kiss it once, and then it is bonded to you. Only a pervert designed this. But it will become bonded to you. However, it will not firmly like lock onto you until you have sex with it. And once that little detail is revealed, that then becomes the point of this series, is how do we get this teenage girl to have sex with this robot?
She is 16.
Yes.
The amount of interest that the salesman had in pursuing this. His name is Gaku, and he might be the worst person at his job ever. I do not understand this. So there's a big deal because Night is part of this prototype series where they're like, oh, we're going to have these ultimate male companions. And it's said that the idea is that, oh, we'll sell them to like rich, lonely women so
Sure.
that they'll, want to buy these, artificial lovers to keep them company and so on. Riiko is a young girl who lives by herself because her parents are out of the country. So she doesn't have a lot of finances. I don't know why Gaku gets in his head of like, oh yeah, I'll just kind of like, give her this
Is it?
opportunity to
Isn't
get.
it something like she helps him, and he's like, "Oh, I will let you get a trial run of this series. I'll just send it over, and if you don't like it, like, well, just return it."
But there's this idea that he's entrapping her in
Oh,
the
100%.
circumstances.
Because it's like the same thing
But
as like a free trial on like a website where it's like, well, you didn't
right.
cancel before the 19th, so now you do own it and you have to pay us for it.
But if you entrap someone, usually they need to have the funds for you to get out of them to begin with that kind
Hey,
of things.
she starts working, she gets a job, she has to go through the panic of, will I have to sell my body to sustain myself with this horrifying situation that fumbles upon me? But, it's all for giggles and laughs, as those situations usually are.
I need to indicate that this is kind of the closest that I feel like we've ever gotten to a shoujo version of To Love Ru. It's not nearly as gross as To Love Ru in terms of consistency, but it does get there in certain stretches. But there's a lot of, sexiness involved. There's a lot of fan service for the female eye more than the male eye in this case. And it is a wacky, don't think about it too hard, don't worry about consistent narratives from chapter to chapter. We're just going from beat to beat, and there's going to be a wacky thing happening around the corner of every single time. There will be characters introduced that have what feel like there should be massive consequences going into the series that are then just never brought up again immediately after they're done in the 3-chapter story arc that they are a part of. It's because it's all about like, we're going to have some wacky circumstances with this girl and her robot boyfriend, and there's going to be a little bit of sexiness in every chapter. That's what the point of the series is. So don't think too hard about it. Once I was about halfway through the series and I was fully like, okay, there's no consistency in the internal logic of this series, so I will stop trying to keep track of it and stop asking questions. Because, for example, eventually that they revealed that the board of directors for this company that's producing the models that Knight is a part of are all tiny children, and the CEO is a baby. So it doesn't matter.
When did that get revealed? So I didn't finish the
It's such
series.
a small part of the series. It's right around the point that you stopped reading it.
Okay.
Like literally right after that is when they reveal that that's what's going on. Which
now I
mean,
do remember there being like a young kid, but you're saying there's an actual
Younger than him.
baby above them.
The board of directors is all younger than that kid, and the CEO is the youngest of all. He's boss baby.
Okay.
So who literally goes goo goo gaga in his only line of the series. So
Okay.
by that point, I was like, none of this makes sense. I'm not going to bother to try and make sense of it. So it feels like there was probably a different idea for it at a certain point, considering that, this is a company that is producing, sex robots. It doesn't really make any sense for young children to be the masterminds of this, but that's what happens.
It's a very amusing setup. I didn't want to interrupt you there, so if you have a point you want to finish.
No, just that, the beginning and end portions of the series are the point is that we have wacky circumstances and there's some sweetness thrown in between Knight and Riiko as they get closer and closer as boyfriend and girlfriend. It starts to become less and less, oh, he is just programmed to love her, and it becomes more of an actual romantic bond between them as time goes by. Not always compellingly, but they do grow closer to the course of the series. And the beginning third and the ending stretch are about what you would expect from that, where it's not always necessarily good, but there's a lot of little jokes. There's a lot of Knight taking his clothes off, and there's some moments where he holds Riiko in his arms, and it's all doki doki between them. The middle chunk of the series, there's some really heinous shit that happens that really, really made me want to tap out on this for a while. And if not for the fact that when the series is winding down, it kind of goes away from the gross stuff, I would have been prepared to say that this is one of the worst series that we have ever read.
Oh my gosh.
If starting at like chapter 12, the kind of stuff that we get into defined the rest of the series entirely, I would have been like, this is gross and awful, and I hate it.
There is a very special point in the series where the character of Gaku rather, does
oh,
just
man,
like...
if Goku were the salesman, that would make so much sense. Hey, you want this robot? Yeah, you gotta have sex with it, whatever that is, you know?
I don't know. When Gaku overlooks the situation, he's like, I gotta make these kids fuck. And you're like, yeah, excuse me, wait.
In the closet being like, have sex, come on.
Excuse me, huh? And then that is just his essential role in the story for like the next 24 so-ish chapters, is just to kind of be like the comedic reason for why these characters are potentially going to have sex. Look, is this series problematic? Absolutely. There are some very uncomfortable moments, as we're going to talk about. I do think the series is kind of fun. It is trashy, but it is, I guess, trashy in a way I don't get to see a ton. This series is so over the top. One of the first plot lines is about Riiko going on a class trip. And everyone is, of course, super jealous about Knight because he's super hot and everyone likes him. And there's like even like a fan club that's trying to like bully Riiko from spending time with him. And Riiko's...
Same vibes, it feels like, originally as the fan clubs in Furuba, in Fruits Baskets, where... you know, oh gosh, I forget the name of the rat. But he's got, you know, his own fan club, and all the girls are like, none of us will date him and so we're going to prevent anyone else from dating him.
Yeah.
But they didn't do things like corner a girl and grab her by the hair
just
and
start
beat her up.
beating her and throwing mud at her. It was wild. It was a real like fucking like 90s movie like hazing scene. I was like, oh no, get out of there, Riiko. But on this trip, Riiko's best friend, Mika, reveals to us, the audience, that she is actually not Riiko's friend. She is, but she's not. She has actually been playing her this whole time, and she loves stealing people's, like other girls' boyfriends. So now that Riiko has a boyfriend at night...
Specifically Riiko's in particular.
Yeah,
she's like, it's the best when I steal the guys that Riiko is crushing on. I love doing it. It's like, what is this girl's deal?
Yeah,
there is never an explanation of why she is this way.
There actually is. So this is where, if you read those little things on the side, the author, Watase, is it?
Correct. Yes.
They do note that they're like, hey, there's always like a girl like this kind of in every class. I don't really understand why, but there always does seem to be somebody who just seems to really enjoy other people's significant others, essentially. So there is...
you had the same school life that I did.
Well, you weren't really in the circle where you had to have a lot of discussions about whether or not you're going to steal someone's boyfriend.
Well, there's two reasons for that. One is that...
Yeah.
One is the obvious, I'm very straight, and the other is that I was very lonely.
Aww. I'm going to give you a big hug.
Oh, it's okay, buddy.
Yeah. It's very funny in this moment because prior to this like revelation, Riiko buys friendship bracelets, matching friendship bracelets for her and Maki because they're like, or Mika, because they're like, we're best friends. We should, of course, have matching.
Trip.
They're
they
teenagers. Yeah.
And she's like, we're on this class trip together. I wanted to buy us something that's like, hey, we're best friends and we went on this trip together.
Yeah.
She wants to have a little thing that they can both have.
And eventually it comes to the moment where Mika has to reveal that she's like, I'm actually playing you, you big idiot. And Riiko, this poor stupid girl, like Riiko literally shows up and is like, hey, I'm not friends with you. I just want to steal your boyfriend. It's actually kind of embarrassing that you thought we were friends this whole time. And Riiko's like, she must be confused. Like, why is she saying this? And it isn't until Mika dramatically
they've been friends since junior high for years by this point. So it kind of makes sense that Riiko doesn't take her at face value originally.
No, I think she's dumb. When she
is dumb, but
it's like the girl has to dramatically snap the friendship bracelet, like shatter it to pieces before Riiko's like, "We're not friends anymore." And then adorably, this is so unnecessary. Knight fixes the friendship bracelet afterwards so that they can have another touching moment with it later. And that's just like the wild energy that I feel like this series has. Everything needs to be dramatic and overblown. You can't just have someone reveal that they're not friends with you. They have to rip the friendship brace in half.
Yeah.
Or they have to crash in through the window. Or they have to show up working at the place you were going to.
There's so much crashing through the window in this series. I didn't even track that until just now. It happens all the time. People jumping through closed windows.
It's wild. At one point, 2 robots have a fight in Riiko's house. And I was like, the damage this has done should bankrupt you. Like, it's destroying this house.
Yeah. I actually really like that first little story arc because I think that it's like the best that Riiko actually looks as a character. Because at the end of everything, of course, Knight doesn't fall for the scheme that Mika launches. Who's like, "Oh, you'll be mine" and stuff, and he, rejects her because he's loyal to Riiko. And then the fan club that Mika had been manipulating to, use to thwart Riiko and get her separated from Knight so that she could try and seduce him, they turn on her because they're like, "You've clearly been trying to get some alone time with Knight, which is against the vow we took as his fan club." And so they start getting ready to, harass her and beat her up. And Riiko shows up with Knight and they stop them. And then it's because like, are you gonna like expect me to apologize to you or something? And Riiko slaps her across the face, but then she gives the friendship bracelet back and is like, "I'm not going to forgive you, but you were still my friend," essentially. And she kind of like refuses to see things the way that Mika does, which is like, "Yeah, I know that you were pretending to be my friend, but that friendship still meant something to me." And I was like, hey, she didn't forgive her, but she also didn't let the negativity win out. And I think that that's actually really cool that she came out ahead in that way. And that's the most active role that Riiko really gets through almost the entirety of the rest of the series.
Oh, the rest of the series, she's like debating about whether or not to have sex. That's pretty much it. She is like whisked to a new place for the situation to be, will she have sex here?
Literally, yes. Literally, Gaku, who is, for some reason, determined to get that permanent bond via sex going. And Riiko, she's like, she really thinks that Knight is hot, but she's like, I don't want to just have sex. I want to, like, form a romantic connection with someone first. That frigid bitch. She's like, doesn't want to just jump into that situation. And so Gaku's like, all right, fine. You're on an abandoned island by yourselves and you're not leaving until you have sex. And then that doesn't work. So he's like, fine. Go to this other place, this onsen so you can have sex. And they're like, all right, go to a love hotel so you can have sex. He keeps on putting him in situations like, have sex. He's so obsessed with the sex life of this 16-year-old girl. He's so weird.
It's very interesting because this character has to like accomplish things because the plot demands it. Like they need this thing to happen, so he kind of just facilitates it. But you have to like question a lot of times. You're like, why are you so focused on this particular girl? Like there is like an established like plot point that if someone else kisses Knight, he will then link to them until they have sex, and it's like sort of like a temporary thing. It's really a pretty big flaw in your your love doll situation that anyone who kisses it immediately becomes the new owner. But that does happen, and before they manage to return Knight back to Riiko rather. I'm
What a
getting everyone's
different
wrong.
series this would be if instead of Night, the artificial boyfriend was like Yagami.
It would respect women about as much.
Oh yeah.
But the situation happens, and like Gaku like starts to like come up with like, oh, what will we do in case she does have sex? Like, well, we'll probably try to sell the doll to her then, or something. Like, he has a backup plan. It's not like this girl is like the be all end all. Like, if he's like, if I don't get this sale, they're taking my thumbs. You don't understand. They're gonna kill. It's like very much like, I'm like a little goblin who just wants to see if this girl will have sex with this robot.
He talks about how like, oh, I'll get fired, I guess, but he's like, he's just keeps saying like, oh, I'll have to take over my family's food stand business and stuff, and then he's totally happy to do that at the end of the series anyway. So, stakes, I guess. There, I this was where I eventually was just like, it's okay. It doesn't need to make sense because there are huge inconsistencies in the motivations of Gaku and of the company that he works for, because Gaku is determined to make the bond with Riiko permanent, but the company ends up taking the opposite trajectory where they're like, we got to get Night out of this bond with this girl because they're not having sex and therefore they're not gathering the data that we need, because we designed this ultimate male lover android, but it's a learning model and it's not gathering data by interacting with women because it's not having sex with Riiko. So we got to do something else. So what they do is they introduce the Model 2 series with a character named Toshiki, who at first pretends by omission to be the first guy that Riiko ever had a crush on in a detail that is entirely inconsequential. And literally, Riiko and Night are going to a hotel with the plan of having sex.
Yes.
And they end up in the same hotel where Toshiki and Toshiki's quote-unquote younger brother, who is actually a technician who works at the company that makes the androids, are also staying. And Riiko just gets talked into going to see Toshiki alone in his hotel room. Toshiki, who again is an android, but we don't know that yet, feeds her a drug that knocks her out. The little technician, pretending to be his little brother, says a code to Night to get him out of the way, and then Riiko wakes up in bed naked next to Toshiki. And so, for a little while, we are under the impression, oh, he drugged and forced her to have sex with him then. That's very bad.
Yes.
Does this affect the tone of the next chapter? Nope. She has a wacky reaction when Toshika shows up at school. She goes, oh, what are you doing here? And it's like, this is her sexual assaulter. What is going on? Now, it turns out he didn't do any of that. He just made her think that she did, which is only slightly less bad. It's very bad
It's
that
still
that
very
happened.
bad. He does. They do leave her on the wire for a while, because she for a while was like, I guess I'm a bad person. Maybe I shouldn't have Night. Like, I guess I had sex with that guy. I don't know.
Because
And no
the
one
biggest
tells
victim
her.
in this circumstance, the biggest victim of this circumstance is Night.
Yeah.
Riiko falls into a huge pit of guilt because, entirely against her will or choice, this happened to her, and she feels responsible for it. This is fucking wild. This is a comedy series, and it does not do anything to acknowledge the weight or horror of what has happened to her. We go right into more wacky robot boyfriend shenanigans after this that ends in a Rock'em Sock'em Robots fight where Toshiki gets his arm torn off, which is, admittedly, pretty badass. But I hated this stretch of the series, and this is why I was like, this is one of the worst things that I've read in a while, because this is a series that does not give a shit that it is basically making rape jokes. I fucking hated this. And it finally did get away from that, and it just completely abandoned this whole very creepy build up to that point where everyone was trying to force Riiko to have sex. This entire third of the series is about a woman's choice to have sex being taken away from her in various forms. It's creepy. and gross.
Yeah, the Toshiki storyline is confusing, because it's one of the few that is several chapters long. So like, originally, yeah, she meets Toshiki, thinks it's Toshiki, her crush from when she was a child, and then eventually has the hotel scene. All that sort of stuff happens. It's very, very strange. As you mentioned, it is not treated with any kind of seriousness or gravity. It's not a series that's attempting to address that. It's also not the first time in this series that Riiko is just woken up naked in a bed, confused where she is, and it's just like,
Yep.
She's like, yeah, whatever. I guess I'll just go about my day. And it's like, all right, yeah, it's not that kind of series. I guess we're not going to get introspective. And then eventually, yeah, it just ends in this big, confusing fight. But there's a period of time where Toshiki is revealed to be a robot, but they haven't revealed that he didn't have sex with her. And you're like,
right.
So this whole series, though, is about having sex with a robot. So did that happen? I think it's like another chapter happens before they're like, oh no, you guys did. It's like, cool. This is an odd energy, and it happens after kind of another uncomfortable arc. So yeah, it does get a little dicey there in the middle.
There's a really weird moment in that stretch where Toshiki turns out is, has enrolled at the school undercover. And Riiko learns from Soshi, who is her childhood friend, who honestly feels like he is both too important and not important enough at the same time. We'll talk about him, I think, a little bit later. But and he says to her, like, "Oh yeah, I actually ran into Toshiki, what's his face, earlier." And she's like, "Wait, what, you did?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, was like, did you like see his brother?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" And stuff. And he's like, "Oh yeah, he's like into all this stuff." And he's like, "No, he's not. Look, here he is." And he took like a picture of him, and he's like, "Oh, he's like this, stereotypically gross, nerdy looking guy." And he's like, "Yeah, this is their childhood friend." And so she's like, "Oh, so that wasn't Toshiki from my childhood." And that's like the big cliffhanger reveal thing, which is like, who is this person really? But by that point, said mysterious person has, again, to Riiko's knowledge, assaulted her. And like, that's not even addressed at that point. It's really feels as if there's not an understanding of the crime that has been committed against her because of this.
Yeah. I do really want to quick talk about the island arc. I don't know if we call it an arc, but when they go off to a deserted island, because at this point, Knight and Soshi have had sort of a rivalry, and Soshi has kind of come forward at this point as like, hey, I'm interested in Riiko. I'm not going to give up. So Knight, like, honorably is like, fair enough. Then I accept that you're also going to try. So when the opportunity comes to go to this desert island, Knight feels honor bound to also invite Soshi to this island. It doesn't make a lot of sense because Gaku's also going, and Gaku doesn't fucking want Soshi there. So the entire time he's there, he just keeps sending Soshi out on bullshit to keep him away from Riiko and Knight so that they could have sex. At some point, Riiko goes into a cave and like falls down it or something like that, and she like hurts herself. Soshi finds her because every so often the series has to remind us that like her and Soshi are also a potential couple. So like it has to like feed us something. So it's like, remember that time when we were really young and you helped fix my sprained ankle or whatever? And they have like a nice little moment. I don't remember how, but they both get knocked unconscious. I think someone throws sleeping gas in there or something like that. Knight takes Riiko, kidnaps her, does something else. Soshi is left in there until the tide comes in and he wakes up. And if he hadn't woken up when the tide came in, would have just died, I presume. Which I think is a very funny thing. But then Riiko is taken to this like bungalow that you can't even get to by like normal means. And she's like, where am I? And Knight's like, at this bungalow. She's like, can I leave? No. Not only can you not physically leave because it's very difficult to get here and your legs hurt, but I, the robot, will not let you. And I'm like,
who is again your perfect boyfriend who does everything you say? And, no.
And also, a superhero robot. Like, he's super strong and can rip buildings apart. Like, he is very physically powerful. So, like, there's a very dark tone this series took in those couple chapters. It's not obviously portrayed that way, but I was like, it would be very scary to have, like, a robot boyfriend who's super jealous. Okay,
Won't listen to you.
I need to note this. When Riiko gets her robot, she gets to pick its features, and she doesn't check this stuff out. She just adds all of them. Apparently,
she doesn't
jealousy.
know that it's going to result in her getting an actual boyfriend. So she's just like, oh, that'd be good too. Like a fantasy boyfriend thing.
I guess making your boyfriend insanely jealous was something she requested because Knight gets jealous at fucking everything. Like, this guy cannot allow anyone else to be around her. He gets immediately annoyed if someone, like another male, is around her attention or anything like that. And I was like, that's not a quality I want my superhuman robot boyfriend to have. That, like, if I talk to a guy he doesn't like, he'll just rip someone in half.
It's one of those kind of crazy things where now that Riiko has this perfect male companion, now she's getting a lot of interest from other guys because of it. That kind of stands.
That does happen in life.
Oh, sure. But, it's like, oh, I can't have that. Now I want that. Like, Soshi's such a little asshole. I swear to God. This guy's the worst.
I like Soshi. I like
he's
Soshi.
Such an asshole. He's constantly going, is like, I wanted you. And, like, knowing that she is in a relationship with this guy, even if he's a robot, constantly, like, pinning her to the bed and kissing her without permission and stuff.
When did he do
It's
that?
so gross. He does it so many times. What are you talking about?
Soshi?
Yes!
I must have missed some parts because I don't remember him acting out that much. He does at one point have a scene where he, like, kind of pins her to a wall. Okay, maybe it's something that I missed. But there is one scene where he, like, kind of pushes her against a bed or something like that. But it is in somewhat, I shouldn't say fairness, is that you shouldn't do this. But I do understand his frustration because this is right after he learned that Knight's a robot, and he's like, You're
not real! What the fuck?
He's just like, I have been very obvious that I am into you, and you chose a fucking robot instead? Like, what is this?
And Rico's like, you weren't obvious about it at all until I got Knight. Because he was, like, constantly just, like, being her big brother figure instead. It's like, oh, eat your food, you're so clumsy and stuff like that. And only when she got a boyfriend did he go like, oh, I want you. Why are you with him instead of with me? I've been here the whole time. And it's like, because you fucking didn't take the initiative, you little asshole. Fuck you.
I like Soshi, but fair enough. Maybe I missed some scenes. Maybe I'm forgetting some awful stuff he did.
He's constantly putting pressure on her, like saying, like, you've got to choose between us. And she's like, I don't know. Like, I like you both and stuff.
No,
like,
she does have to choose. She can't keep doing this.
She does have to choose. Riiko does not make herself look good through much of the series, but Soshi should not be allowed to put that pressure on her because in the second half of the series, it's pretty clear she and Knight are exclusive and they're an item. And only then does he really amp things up and be like, but you love me too. Because she does say that she loves him. But it's like, yeah, but she's currently in a relationship with someone else. So you can't be butting into that. That's not cool, dude. It doesn't matter that he's a robot. He's a freaking intelligent being that you have, like, talked with as another human being. That's not fucking cool. And he was actually pretty nice to you. Knight is, like, so she's, like, the one person that Knight is, like, okay with aside from Riiko. So I don't like. Okay, I will say that there's one character that I just liked, and that is Satori, the short-haired girl who's really into money. She's the most Nick-coded character that you could expect. Because she doesn't stand any bullshit, and she doesn't give a shit about any of this any of this romance stuff, and she just wants to be self-reliant. It turns out later on that she, like, has this nasty burn across her back, and so she, her parents died, and her father was like, you can't count on anyone, so you can always rely on money. So he wants her to be self-reliant financially so that she can look after herself, and therefore she's kind of closed off to the idea of romance or closeness with another person in general. weird circumstances happen where she ends up with Knight in a tiny little version of himself form in her house, and she bonds with him, and they just kind of talk, and he's the first person that she can like talk to on a close level. And there's no romantic bond that forms between them, but she's like, you know what, talking with you has opened my idea to the possibility of like I could fall in love with someone. Her heart opens up, even though it's not directly towards him. And it's like, hey, she got to have a thing where like an important emotional moment happened, and nothing really gross happened, so congratulations. Outside of, oh, she was naked in the bath and stuff or whatever. It's manga. I mean, I'm used to that so much. So
Yeah. Satori was literally the character I was kind of reading about when I had to stop reading. But until that point, she was just listed in my notes as some wise girl, because she didn't do anything in the series except be the one girl who's like, hey, I think your best friend's an asshole. And that was it. And I was like,
yeah.
oh, this character's going to show up again. And then like 20 chapters later, I was like, I don't think she's done a single fucking thing.
Right.
What was the point of that character? And then I assumed that she was there to be a spare for whoever doesn't win the love triangle. But Nick, I do need to ask this. What happens at the end? I didn't get to finish this series. I was very curious. Who is the absolute boyfriend?
The answer is yes, it turns out.
Oh, no.
So what happens is, directly as a result of the massive fight with Toshiki, Riiko is damaged. Not Riiko, Knight is damaged, sorry. And basically doesn't get better. There's some parts where she seemingly resets his circuitry when they kiss again. They end up, after they've gotten really close, they end up actually having sex and fully become like an actual romantic couple. Soshi accepts that, she's, with someone else, and his father, who's traveling across, the ocean and stuff, wants he and his little brother to travel with him. And so he's like, you know what? The girl that I love, I missed my chance with her. There's nothing really tying me here. It's time for a fresh start. So he decides to go to Europe, and that leaves Riiko and Knight to be an item. But Knight starts to get tired really, really often. He keeps on having to sleep more and more. And one day, Riiko comes home, and Gaku's there, and he's putting Knight into packing material, basically. He's like fully in a hibernation sequence that he's never going to wake up from, because although he showed some signs of returning to normal, he was basically damaged beyond repair, and he just can't be fixed. And there's an honestly pretty touching moment where like Riiko's in complete denial. She's like, no, she tries to kiss him to reinitiate him, but it's like, no, he's dead, basically. And it's honestly really touching and emotional at the end. And Knight actually turns out, reached out to the one person that he trusted could take care of Riiko as well as he could, which was Soshi, who comes back, and presumably, or at least it's very heavily implied, he and Riiko become an item after that. So that's how things end off, on this like very bittersweet note. Yeah, it's really weird.
I don't feel like
honestly,
anyone would be a fan of that. Like, if you were a Knight fan, you think that ending sucks. If you're a Soshi fan, you think that ending sucks.
I hated all of them. So I thought it was like, you know what? That's actually above the level that I thought that the series was going to do. That it was like, oh, let's just like, do a thing where we like kind of like very weirdly tackle
Let's kill this robot.
Serious like loss and everything. Because it's like the most serious that the series ever gets at all. There's very little joking in that final chapter where basically all of that happens. So because of that and the stretch leading up to it, where things like start to actually happen and end on a decisive note, and we stop fucking around, I did come away from this not being nearly as down on it as I was during that long stretch in the middle, where all this really problematic stuff was happening to Riiko specifically and primarily. And because of that, I mostly felt like, okay, beginning of this is okay, ending of this is okay with some little good bits here and there. Bad middle. It's not a series that I ever really want to think about again, but I understand why, if this is like your type of trash, like your flavor of trash, that you could definitely be really into this. Because, there's a lot of like wacky liver shenanigans that happen. And if you know that you're getting into that and that's the kind of stuff that you want to get, yeah, absolutely. Like it feels like it's perfectly serviceable in that mind.
Yeah. I had a decent time with it. It's trashy, but it's kind of trashy and fun and problematic in a way that the early 2000s had a lot of. And I don't know, it was mildly enjoyable. It's not a particularly like iconic series. I don't think Night has like a very distinct design or anything like that. I don't think I'll be thinking about these characters a whole bunch. But I did have fun reading it. It's, it's fun to look at like the fashion from back then. And, every so often it'd be like a decent joke or whatnot. But more often than not, the screenshots I were taking were to just be like, everyone in this is weird. Like the when they go to the onsen, the like people there are like, oh yes, our baths are quite good. Sometimes people even have sex in them. And I'm like, I don't want to hear that when I'm about to go into the bath that people have been having sex in it. Like,
there's so many juices in there that aren't water.
That's revolting. That'd be like telling me someone peed in the pool before I got in. Like, no, thank you. I don't. I'll just still outside.
Another case where someone wants Riiko purely because she has a boyfriend, because there's a couple there that's fighting, and the girl is like, I want to be with that boy instead, and she tries to steal Night from Riiko, which is like, he's the ultimate boyfriend. That makes sense. But the guy is also like, I want that girl instead, and it's like, she's 16. Stop it. Like,
that guy also,
they don't seem like they're teenagers.
That guy also kind of very problematic beyond the 16-year-old part, but he also kind of tries to start forcing himself upon Riiko
kind
at some
of
point. Yeah, I don't remember all the
only kind of
just a little bit, not as bad as the other times, but we should get moving on to the rest of the podcast though. So with our final thoughts, I think it's okay. It is available on Viz for free. Well, not for free, but if you have a subscription.
Your favorite character was Gaku, right?
My favorite character is probably Soshi, but I'm getting the feeling that I don't remember a bunch of key Soshi moments right now. So
there's a moment where he gets upset at Riiko and accuses her of never loving anyone with her whole heart. And I'm like, this has never been established. You just jealous, you little asshole.
There was, I think the scene I'm thinking of is after it's revealed that Night is a robot to him, and he has this little freak out. He does admittedly be like, look, if you want to fuck the robot, he says in kinder words, but he's like, if that's, what you're going for, I support you, but you know, I'm here, right? Like, and I'll grow old with you. And like, all that sort of like, it just, so a robot, that it's not going to necessarily make sense when you're not 16 anymore, having this 16-year-old looking robot or whatever.
I just really got the feeling of like, this dude has never taken ownership of the fact that he didn't step up when this girl was constantly pursuing guys that she didn't have a shot with. You knew that she wanted a boyfriend, and you kept on like sunning her, like making her feel bad about being a massive wreck. And it's like, you just assumed that she was just never going to end up with anyone, and then you were just like waiting.
Yeah.
And then when finally like you lose your chance, then you're upset about it. It's like, I don't like him for that reason.
I think it's the glasses. I like a guy in glasses. Not referring to you.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, that's Absolute Boyfriend.
You do look very good in glasses.
A roller coaster. Though. Thank you. A roller coaster of a series, I would say.
Yeah. Weirdly, it's just a Ferris wheel, but no roller coasters, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. All right. Quinn, we had a bit of a love triangle sort of unfold in that series, and we've got kind of one unfolding here in Ichi the Witch, because that asshole Spica, she's trying to trick Ichi into marrying her based in the long-term plan, but by working her way onto Team Descarus. But in the end of the last chapter, Komugi raised an objection, and so we open up the series with that. And we get lead color pages for this series as well, with 47th Hunt Komugi Harvest. Love Ichi's boots. They're so feathery. Look at those. I don't know the pose that Descaros is striking, but she's very coy about it.
She's doing the number one. Ooh. I think Goguraku is just falling.
Yeah, he's just like, wee! Komugi has a flashback to when she was, in her early days working at the Witches Research Club. And she's like, yeah, I picked the blandest job that they had, which was just record keeper. And I would just record events and research results, file them away. It was nice and safe and quiet. Master Shirobadona was kind of odd. But, I just got to spend all day sitting at a desk and I wasn't a bother to anyone. And Spica was right when she said that this was the department for me. I don't mind a plain, peaceful life. And then we hard cut to the day that they went after the Hisame magic, and Komugi had to run around while getting splashed with the ice shark's blood as it was being sashimied. And she's like, why? What's happening? What's going on? And this male witch is crazy. And just kept on going through wild shenanigans. It's nice to have this focus on, honestly, the bit parts that she was really playing in a lot of these missions, and reporting on them afterwards. And while she's just going, why is this happening to me? Why? And we see her after their most recent mission, after taking on from Kagami.
Yeah, the Bakugami.
Yes. After getting back from Kagami Village, she was like, I'm so tired. I don't know if I've ever run around that much in my entire life. I can't even change my clothes or take a bath. I'll just pass out. I'm just going to go to sleep like this. And as she shuts her eyes, she starts writing notes.
What a fucking cool ass nerd little moment. She's like, I can't even sleep. I can't stop writing so much.
And she just scribbles down all these notes about like the Joyasara magic, about what Ichi and company did, the principles behind Gakuraku's, every single thing she wrote a note about until she was left with like binders and tomes full of notes, as we find out later. And her feelings on this are like, I just can't, so much happened. I just can't stop writing about it. I've got to note down everything. I want to share this with everyone. I was a mess during the whole thing. I was bawling my eyes out, but this report, this precious record, is one we all made together. And there's a little image of her sharing a toast with Team Descaros. And it's like, it's not just like a job for her. This is a representation of her friendship with these guys. And it's so sweet and so very appropriate for this kind of series. And Shirobadona is really impressed by all this, and she says something a little interesting, which is when she's looking at Komugi once again, my analysis was spot on. So she saw something in this girl, and I like that we just get a little hint of that. So in the present, Komugi says to Spica, yeah, this is a hard job that I'm in. It's really scary, and I'm having all these experiences I never had before, hearing things that I've never been told before. Every day is full of new, vibrant, exciting events, and I'm writing, and my pen just won't stop. It makes me want to see more, hear more, and write more. And I know you're right. Like you always tell me, I probably will mess everything up. I'll probably be totally useless to them. But you know what? I don't have time to think about any of that. I'm too busy having fun. I like my job, so I don't want to quit. And she has the treats that she and Ichi bought on their shopping trip out, and she shoves the bag into Spica's hands. So she got this present for her sister, and she very forcefully gives it to her. And Spica thinks to herself, what the hell's going on? What has gotten into this girl? Ever since that accident, my sister was looking down at the ground all the time. She was always hunched over, like she was asking me to step on her. Nobody read into this. So I did. Don't read into this. If that's what she wanted, I was happy to oblige. I was nice. I used her as my stepping stone because she was okay with it. So now why, after all these years, did you decide to look up? And instead of being down on the ground, little sister Komugi is standing up and staring her sister in the eye. And Spica thinks, when you do that, how am I supposed to step on you? Nobody read into this. So the facade crumbles, and Spica shouts at Komugi like, you're useless at everything. Why are you talking about like this? That you can't handle a job in magic hunting. And Komugi is cowed, but she won't back down. She says, I'm not useless at everything. Yes, you are. I am not. Yes, you are. And they're just talking like little siblings and arguing at each other back and forth. He's like, no, step aside. No, I'm not going to do it. How dare you? And it's like, and then we get the big thing, which Komugi says, I know your secret. You had magic surgery done and it fully restored your eye. You don't need that eye patch. You just wear it to look cool, and you shouldn't do that.
That's the wild part where it's like, why are you still keeping this on?
Oh my God. And they're just arguing like little kids for a bit. And Spica's like, fine, let's have Master Ichi decide for us. And she just goes right up to him and she takes one of his hands in hers and says, I could be way more helpful than that clumsy little girl. She can barely use magic. You should have her switch with me. I'm the way better choice. And Ichi looks at her, says, Miss Spica, yes. And bows to her and says, I'm sorry. You're not my type. And it's a very interesting word choice. And Spica is so stunned by the flat rejection that she just walks away. She just goes, oh, okay, I'll just leave. Just wanders off. And Ichiri says, it worked! She really did go away. Descaris told me to say that. She's a smart girl, Descaris. What a good big sister to just like get people to stay away from this stupid boy by having him just learn how to reject women. It's great.
Yeah.
And Komugi laughs. She's really, really touched by all this. Of course, she just had a very emotional row with her sister. Was very surprised by that. And Ichi says, are you going to quit? And she says, no, I'll never quit. And Ichi says, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's our chapter. Yay! Chapter made me feel good, Quinn.
Yeah, it's a good chapter. I think for the most part, everything they give for Kamiki here is really good. I think a lot of people, especially anyone who like really considers themselves like a writer or anything like that, is going to be able to look at that scene where she's just like, I'm unable to stop writing. Like, I'm so exhausted. I don't even have time to like get a shower or anything like that. I'm so exhausted. So why won't my hand stop writing? Like, it's a very, very cool moment. And I like that a lot. I don't know how I 100% feel about the eye being actually repaired. I'm like, oh, well then she's an asshole. Like, more than she already was, but like, she's a stupid asshole if she keeps the eye patch on. Like, wouldn't you be fucking up that new eye anyway? Because you're constantly blocking it with an eye patch. I guess they're magic. I don't need to get that much into it. But yeah, good chapter. Nice to get a little bit of Kamiki stuff. I assume we're going to get more, though, because that felt kind of short for all the stuff it felt like we were building Spice up for. So
I'm sure that we'll get more of Spica at some point. It seems like she might be a little bit of a needle in the side of Team Descaris, and obviously the relationship between her and Komugi is still not fully resolved. Maybe this will be a case of like, maybe she'll kind of be a rival figure for Komugi in some form going forward. We'll see. But definitely didn't like end things in terms of like them like getting over that relationship between them. Spica has done nothing to apologize or anything like that. She just got embarrassed and walked away. She's been temporarily defeated, and that's it. I feel like we're also going to stick around this council, this introduction of Ichi, for a little bit longer. Maybe use it as a springboard to set up the next arc.
Blue box.
It's chapter 208, Became Memories. Right. So Nishida is back in the Batman Club. He's really happy to be able to play after all the exams he's been taking and everything like that. And Kyo is observing, like, man, he even came here before graduation. Haryu is also there to hang out, and he's getting the better of Taiki this time. Uh, but but before Haruto can get a practice match in with Haryu, Ayame blows her whistle and says, "Okay, guys, that's it for today's practice. We've got work to do. We got to do the deep clean of the gymnasium for the end of the year." And that's the entire reason why the third years are hanging out here, so that they can take part in the deep cleaning. So they get all of these cleaning supplies out. There's a quick moment where Ayame stumbles across a spider, and as has been previously established, she don't do well with spiders. That one loser dude on the team is like, "Oh, you're scared of bugs," and kills it. And
Is it
Ayame's like,
Marita?
Kudo. That's
Kudo.
what Ayame
Okay.
calls him.
Gotcha.
Because he's like, if you're ever in trouble, you can rely on me. Mm-hmm.
Who's Marita? Besides Pat.
Morita. No, don't have any results.
That might just be crazy. I thought there was a Marita in this series.
There's a Murakami. I know that. But Ayame says to Kudo, "That's never going to happen. Like, I'm just, it's not going to be you. You're just not my type." I like the explanation. Like, I thought nice guys always get the girl, and it's like, yeah, trying to get the girl means that's you're not going to get them. Exactly. Hina, of course, is also there because it's not just the Batman Club that is doing the cleaning. She passes by Haruto and just kind of says hi and then just keeps on walking. And so Haruto says, "Hey, I never got my souvenir that I asked for." And she says, "Well, you got one from the team." It's like, yeah, but I asked you to get me one. And Hina actually is straight with him and says, "Okay, I did buy it, but I got really awkward about it, and then I dropped it and I lost it. And after that, I kind of knew that, like, I can't put you above everybody else." And Haruto says, "Is that because you're friends with Taiki Senpai?" Awkward pause. And Haruto says, "I mean, you're gonna get hurt." Like, he's like, "I already see what this is gonna do. It's not gonna work for you." And he starts talking down to her a bit, saying, like, "Look, it's already game over. Why are you going out of your way to like try and keep this spark alive?" And Hina just says, "You can't win unless you try." She says, "I'm going to make one last desperate attempt, and I know you're right, but he's the one who raises me up the most." And Haruto watches her go, and he kind of mentally compares the situation with his older brother. He's like, "I guess we're the same." Like, yeah, I mean, this guy feels like he's got no chance, but he's like, "But I gotta try anyway." So, weirdly enough, despite talking down to Hina, he's probably far more understanding of that than a lot of people would be. Given that we've kind of been through, we've definitely been through this with Hina before, and it really feels like she's just going to get her heart broken all over again with no chance of it working out better. But Haruto is a bit bitter as a result of that. They go out to do cleaning, and they're gonna do a floor race thing. So everyone, takes a wet rag, and they're gonna race across the gym floor and then race back. And Haruto says, "I'm just not going to lose to Taiki Senpai. That's the one person I'm not going to lose to." So they race across, and Taiki is got a little bit of a lead on Haruto. So Haruto looks over and says, "I just got a glimpse of Shinatsu Senpai's belly button." And Taiki's like, "What?" It distracts him enough that he can take the lead, and everyone's like, "Come on, man!" That's when Haruto admits to himself, "Yeah, that's not good. Winning like that won't do me any good." So interesting that he took the short route, and then he's like, "I gotta actually beat the guy for real."
Mm.
Because now, of course, we know he's competing with Taiki on multiple fronts at this point, sports-wise and rather athletically and romantically. Girls also race too, and they're having a race with juice on the line, and Hina's lined up right next to Chinatsu, And instead of having an intense contest, Hina just can't. She really can't. She's not built
It's
for this.
bad. Like, I was like, damn, I don't think I would do very good, but she is like legit struggling to get across the starting line.
She's completely left abandoned by everyone else. Like Shinatsu ends up winning, and Hina is just like she's still making her way across as everyone else has already made their way back. And so it's like, oh man, this is really bad. And Hina's like, I'm gonna keep on going until the very end. And Taiki, what a good guy, gets down on the floor next to Hina, and he's like, hey, come on, put more of your body weight into it so they can keep on going. And Kyo comes in and does it. And Nina and Ayame come by, and they're also like, come on, you can do it, Hina. And everyone, is like, encouraging her on, and she gets across. And it's like one of those things where it's like, it could have been really, really embarrassing for her, and they made it into a thing that was, everyone being friendly about it. And Haruyu observes, and Nishida observe, like, even the most mundane of things can have become special memories for us. Just like this moment of like us all doing this together. And it's nice because they're getting nostalgic about like their time at high school coming to an end and their time at the club coming to an end. And the two of them and Shinatsu and Nagisa are like, we're gonna have to say goodbye soon. As Taiki makes his way out, he's got the water that's been gathered in a bucket that he's going to go dump out from all their cleaning. And Nagisa and Nishida and Haruyu kind of like are peering around the corner, and they're like, oh, they're going to make one last memory together because Chinatsu's going out to help them carry the bucket, and they're just walking together to do it. Aw.
Yep, cute little chapter. I know some people are really upset about Hina still going after Taiki in this. I am on the side that's generally like the series hasn't really like fucked up. So I am kind of curious to see where they go in this. I hope it's not just fully retreading. I don't think it's going to. I do think that it is very possible to just experience sort of rejection in multiple layers, I guess. Like, I feel like she's kind of just needs to get like a firm confirmation now that she's like, yeah, I really don't have a shot with them. And I presume that'll eventually just advance the her and Haruto story up, because it's very interesting right now that, Haruto has a big rival, and it's Taiki, and he has a girl that he has a crush on who won't get with him because she still has feelings for Taiki. Like, it just gives him more and more incentive to just target this guy.
To get a little bit vulnerable about this topic, my first really, really, really serious crush when I was towards the end of high school, she rejected me. And over the summer after my senior year, we were part of the same tight-knit friend group that were going out and doing a whole bunch of stuff together. And she and her boyfriend at the time were both within that. So I was constantly hanging out with one of my best friends, and also, her, who was one of my other best friends, but that I had a crush on, and knowing that like these two are romantically together. And it was, like really, it really stung at certain points, because it's like I had to get over it in layers like that. And it can be frustrating because like you really want someone to make the choice that will obviously make them the happiest, and people are stupid like that, where they go on with this thing where it's like, even when a part of them has fully come to terms with like this is not going to work, another part of them is like, but I really just want to hold on to this and not let go of this possibility. And I feel as though if we had gone in the direction that we were kind of being indicated when we went into that class trip, where Hina was kind of like going to give a shot to this idea of going out with Haruto, exploring that feeling by giving him the charm and stuff, that it wouldn't have been very dramatic if we had just done that. I feel like we all kind of know that like this is definitely not going to work out the way that Hina is hoping it will, because even she is like acknowledging it probably isn't. But by trying to do that, I think it sets us up for a more emotionally and dramatically satisfying way of getting us to the Hina and Haruto relationship, or will they, won't they situation. Uh, so I have some level of more positive thought on that, even though I totally understand that level of like, come on, girl, like we already saw you do this, and it can feel like, you know, just like a humiliation train if it's like, oh, she just keeps on going back to it and stuff. But you know,
Sometimes you don't get
like,
over it all at once.
yeah, and I feel like Hina has not just been exclusively like the girl that Taiki rejected up until this rekindling of feelings. It's been a thing that we've like been reminded of every now and again, that like she's not fully over him, but she's done other stuff. We've had stuff, you know, like involving her friendship with Ayame. She's been there with the close group with, because she's friends with Kyo. So you know, I've got a sense of like, hey, this is a character that is like fully developed enough that it's not going to feel a total waste to go into this, even if it just ends the same for her.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Dandadan. This is chapter 207. What even is a ninja? So we run into the chameleon spirit, or a chameleon alien, actually, revealed the great reptilian, the space ninja, who is hiding by blending into one of the pillars down there. Unfortunately, it doesn't really matter because they can read energy signatures. So we just see Vamola punch the shit out of the ninja, the great reptilian. We do get an explanation.
I love this. I love, before we get into that, not just the image, but also the fact that while it's happening, Vamola says "wabam" while punching him.
Yes. We find out that Vamola can now currently see Momo because of her scanner systems, but she does believe that Momo is a fairy come to help her. It's very, very sad because at one point Vamola goes, "Mixed Pixie, why are you helping a fellow like me?" And Momo's like, "That's so sad. Don't say it like that."
You don't remember that we're friends.
Well, yeah. So they go running out of the shrine. They get to the car. Momo sees how bad Seiko is. And, they load Seiko into the car. And Gigi's noting, like, her ribs are broken. We really don't know what's going on with her internally. But Seiko just coughs and is like, "Hurry, you have to get to the shrine." It starts raining, which is bad. Actually, no, a big sound effect. It's not rain, just a bunch of speed lines. It starts hearing this very loud voice coming from the shrine. It says, "You won't get away with this. How dare you tear my pride as a space ninja to pieces like that?"
A space ninja.
Space ninja. I mean, you were being even more of a ninja than me, knuckleheads. And the shrine starts to rise up as it now has legs and a big chameleon face. And a bunch of ninjas are tied to it on kites.
Ninja kites, yeah.
It could just do this, and it reveals that actually it's been in disguise of the shrine the entire time, the castle. So all the ninjas.
One of the quickest Power Rangers small to big combat times we've ever had.
Yeah. The ninja inside, as the Great Reptilian confirms, they were cultivated inside of my bowels. So they stink too, probably. This creature is going to try to kill them. We see Gigi get ready for combat. He's like, "We got to get back to the shrine now. We got to, hurry up." And Momo says, "Gigi, get my grandma to the hospital right now. I don't care about the curse anymore. We have to save Granny." Gigi's like, "Are you sure? Everyone might forget about you." She's like, "I don't care. I'm so sorry, Granny. This is all my fault. And if you still remember me..."
Sorry, I'm thinking about the bowel ninjas and this really important emotional moments.
"If you still remember me, we'll talk then." And she goes, dashes out, hooks herself to Vamola again. And we end the chapter with her remembering, the good times that she's had with Seiko as Gigi and Seiko go driving off to get her to a hospital. So I don't know how our heroes will get to this ritual on time, but we shall see.
Yeah, I am curious to see where that goes. I mean, we kind of knew eventually that we were going to get to a point where it's like it looked where it was going to look like, hey, maybe everyone is going to forget about Momo, and that danger was going to become very, very real. I don't know the direction that that's necessarily going to take. I do wonder if it's going to be one of those things where maybe like almost everyone forgets about Momo except like one person or something like that. I really do feel like there might be a thing with like maybe it's just going to be Okarun who remembers her, and that would be kind of crazy. But what I can tell you, Quinn, is that we're going to get a Vimola versus giant chameleon castle kaiju battle. So here we go.
I was going to say, it's a very Nick-coded fight. It involves ninjas, involves big monsters.
It involves Vimola, who is, I think, my favorite character in the series. So
good to know. All right, Nick, Hima-Ten.
That's right. It's chapter 55 of Hima-Ten, Honoka and Himenono. So, we're fully into following this storyline with Miss Himeno being a teacher. And at the end of the day, Honoka and Iamori, of course, are the two class reps. So they're wishing all the other students goodbye. They're all still much abuzz about Himenono's our teacher and everything. But Himeno is also wishing everyone goodbye, and everyone keeps on being like, bye, Miss Himeno. And they're also being like, can you come to this thing? Like, could we have a handshake and stuff? She's like, guys, I don't do handshake events anymore. I'm your teacher. But if you guys, like do well in your game, I guess I can sneak you one. So do your best. So she's kind of like being an encouraging teacher with a little bit of an idol flair kind of thing, which makes perfect sense. Honoka is very, very awkward around Himeno, especially after what Mayu said, which was, of course, that like she's gonna, totally outshine you. Good job, Mayu. That's the thing that she needed to hear. But Honoka is really, really awkward when she says goodbye to Himeno, and everyone's like, just talking about their teacher, kind of ignoring Honoka. Iamori is like, hey, by the way, I wanted to apologize to you. Like, I know you're a fan of Himeno, but I didn't tell you that I had run into her before because she told me to keep it a secret. But Himeno overhears that and is like, oh, you were a fan of mine. Okay. And so they tell it sort of, and Iamori is like, yeah, she was like she did a cover concert and she played your part in Very True. And Kanai has to be like, yeah, I've been your fan and I was sad when you quit. And Himeno says like, oh yeah, well, you know what, you're a lucky girl, and I look forward to spending the rest of the year with you. And Honoka is left to think to herself like, it must be nice to have a lot of self-confidence. Like Himari has it, Kana has it, and yeah, I guess I'm really am being overshadowed by her. I guess I am just like an average girl. I'm just happy as long as Iamori sees me. And of course, yeah, but he's got these 3 celebrities in his life now. And so she's like, man, I guess this has been happening for a while, and I've kind of been fading into the shadows. Which, you know what? It's good of the series to just acknowledge that like, hey, like, she's kind of the one who stands out the least. And that's kind of a problem if you're trying to like, be the girl that gets picked for the big love thing. So
it's kind of rough because once again, the series is not called Hono-Ten. So she will eventually presumably lose to one of these actual celebrities. And you're like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. But hey, we all followed Megami to 0 important Shokugeki wins, so why don't we just follow Honoka all the way down into the you're a good friend, I can't wait to meet your husband one day road.
Man, that sapped so much my energy. For 400 chapters, I was like, maybe this time.
This time, it's the final arc. They can't not do it now.
Well, they didn't do it. But, Honoka's like, I don't want to leave things the way that they are with this, where I just like, gradually fade and Iamori, I miss my chance with him. So she afterwards goes to talk to Himeno in the teacher's lounge, or the teacher's office, whatever you would refer to this as. And she says, "Hey, can I like talk to you about something?" And off screen, she kind of explains her, like personal circumstances without like naming names. And so Himeno's like, "Oh, I get it. You want to make your crush stan you," which I was like, "Wow, what a wild thing to read in those exact terms." Uh, and Himeno is like immediately clocked everything because she says, "Yeah, you want Tanichi to notice you more." And Hoka's like, "Yes." Wait, I never said his name. I have to know that. And she's like, "Well, I wasn't really sure, but I just kind of threw out his name, and yeah, you just confirmed it. So, but I kind of knew that like from checking the class register, you guys have known each other for a while. You're both class reps, and also you two are like really self-conscious around each other. I just kind of got the vibe. So yeah, no, you just confirmed it for me. Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, so Honoka's just like says like, "Yeah, I've had a crush on him, but and I don't really know what to do. I feel like if I never tried to get his attention, that it would be really pathetic. But I don't know what to do. What should I do?" And Himeno comforts her because she's starting to tear up, and she says, "Yeah, you're special too." And Honoka says, "No, I'm not. I'm normal." And Himeno says, "Well, you've seen Tanichi through so much, and that makes you special to him. You're unique. Why don't you just like tell him that?" And Honoka's like, "Oh, you mean I should tell him that I acknowledge his presence?" And Himeno's like, "No, like you need to like know how to act around him before you use the actual words." And she says, "Look him straight in the eye when you talk to him, which will make him wonder why you're paying so much attention to him. And he won't know why you're doing that, but it'll make him feel like a sense of hope, and he'll wonder if you've been noticing him that way the whole time. Even with you not saying anything, he'll start to get that feeling before you say a word." And it's like, you know what? That's not a bad piece of advice. Pay attention to the guy you like and make him aware that you're paying attention to him. Genius! If only people were like fucking honest with each other in romance series, Quinn. So Hanoka decides to do that. After she's met up with Himeno, she goes outside. And Mayu is there, and what's his face? Yokomizo, I think, is his name. And they again are just like, "Bye, we gotta do stuff. Go make out. Fucking hook up with each other. We keep on leaving you two alone in every scene we're all in a group together." Hanoka and Imura start talking for a bit, and Hanoka is referring to Himeno as Miss Himeno as well now, so which Imura notices. And the longer that they talk, eventually Imori starts to notice that Hanoka is, like staring at him. She gets the sound effect Hono observe. And Imori confides in her that, like, yeah, Himeno is his neighbor. And he's still picking up the sense of like, oh, she's really looking at me really closely. And that gets him self-conscious. And Hanoka thinks to herself, wow, if I have this, these tips and use what Miss Himeno tells me, maybe I'll be able to tell him how I feel. And that's where we leave off on.
Yeah, not a particularly interesting chapter to me. I just don't think Himeno is a. I don't know. I just don't really get much from her as a character. So her giving advice, just I don't know. She just feels like an advice machine to me. That I don't know. I just didn't really vibe with particularly throughout the chapter. I do think the advice is good. You should, give eye contact to the person you're romantically interested in and stuff like that, show an interest, but I also don't think there needs to be a giant celebrity character who's also a former idol and also is kind of secretly better than all the girls at all the things they consider special to them. Like, I really don't understand why this character is in the series right now, except that like every harem shonen school series needs a teacher character. And it's like, okay, sure.
Mm-hmm. At least we're going in the direction of her being an advisor to the students and getting further away from the idea of her being personally close to Iamori. Because, man, that would be bad if we seriously tease that as an option. But let's go on to Altar of the Flame, chapter 15. And this opens up where we left off with Etapirko having been revealed to be a princess of the kingdom. And Etapirko is like, God damn it, why'd you tell that to Oter? Because Oter, God, this stupid boy immediately is like, Your Highness! And she's like, God damn it, this is why I didn't want this revealed about me. And she's like, look, I'm not good at politics. Yes, I'm part of the royal family. My royal family originally fought, and I'm more into battle. That's more my style. That's how I'm going to help my kingdom. And she gets really upset with Hugin for revealing it, but Hugin says, I did so because it will be important for your next mission. Now that we're responsible for one another's lives, I figured we should make everyone's identities clear. He doesn't really explain beyond that, and I feel, whatever.
He's just saying, like, look, if we're going to die in battle, you should at least know that your friend is a princess, I guess. But it also feels like, yes, and now this can lead us into another little exposition bit that I'm going to put in here because I need to kind of shift what the series is about or move it forward very quickly.
There is a tale that he refers to as the Saga of Five Heroes, which is apparently a very famous tale that Oder has heard of before. He says the 5 warriors split their lives among the 5 spirits, and one of those spirits is the fire spirit. At your side, Oter, is a legendary spirit that fought us alongside the legendary heroes. And Filgia is like, oh, yeah, the iron spirit seemed to know me from before, but as Hugin explains, the current fire spirit probably has forgotten all of her memories and also her original form. So the question is asked, like, okay, well, then how do we restore those things? And it's like, go on an adventure. Just do stuff. Go out, fight, meet companions and stuff. And eventually, Filgia will get this form that has boobs. And then she'll be at her full power. So
I love that thing of, like, how do I attain stronger power? And they're like, just do a thing that would make a story. Basically, just have adventures, walk around. You know, you're in a new place now. Let's see what's up there. It's like, okay, great guidance, oh master. I'm glad this, like, intricate lore had, like, a full legend to it. It wasn't just, like, faff around in the fucking kingdom for however long it takes to be a good series.
Hugin presents Oter with honestly, an object that seems like it takes up way too much room for the purpose it is intended for, which is basically a badge. This thing is like it's the huge. Size of a grapefruit. It's so big.
It's like there's no piece of clothing you could just hang it to because it would immediately be so heavy you would like start ripping, like pulling at it. So like you only can put it on like fucking like, you know, bags and shit.
It is a carved hoof that has like a feathered eagle of some kind inside of it, and there's a massive hook that is hanging from it. This weighs so much. And he says that this will identify Oter as someone who works with Sleipnir's third hoof, which Hugin is the captain of. I want to say that I was mistaken in terms of the makeup of the 8 hooves of Sleipnir that was revealed in the previous chapter, which is that there were 8 captains that were revealed in silhouette. I just couldn't see all their goddamn heads in the very dark panel that they were all introduced in. So Oter's like, okay, I'll do my best. And Hugin's like, I'm not going to go easy on you. And then Pirko is like, give me tea. And she's like, okay. And she's like, and now massage my legs. And he immediately starts doing that too. Yep. So he's trying to be all serious while he's also rubbing Pirko's feet. Okay. Anyway, we're in the forest.
Don't read into that, Nick.
None of that. We're in the forest kingdom now, Quinn. We went through the warp pipe, and here we are. Hooray! The boats are huge. And Oter, as they're disembarking, says like, "Oh, should I carry your things, Your Highness?" And Entropy goes like, "Stop that! Stop treating me that way." And God, Oda, you're so dumb. you don't pick up the vibe with this immediately. I feel so bad for this girl. She was like, I don't want anyone to know that I'm a princess, that I'll be treated normally. We even had a chapter where that was all about them coming to a knowledge that, like, hey, we're trusted companions. We should, like, address each other just by first name and stuff. That was like a step, the first step that they took in their companionship, and he's immediately forgotten about it. So feel bad for her. Fish. They're gonna have fish for food. There's a note about wind because the wind spirit is there, and Oda says the wind was protecting us so that we wouldn't starve. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
More stuff. There's a fleet. Here's their symbol. There's two different, entirely separate iconographies that we have to learn in this chapter. Okay. They're going into this place with the New Order merchant fleet, and their young master is a childhood friend of Edipirco's. And there's a stowaway that was on the ship, and Otra goes to stop them, but a guy says, "Wait, bro, thanks, but this is our problem." He takes off a sash and hurls it up into the air, and the wind takes it and blows it directly into the guy's face, and he goes, "Ah!" and crashes into some boxes, and he stopped. How did you do that? I just read the wind. And he says, before letters, sailors learn to read the wind and the waves. The only thing Kutane can't read is a woman's heart. I do like this guy immediately. He's such an idiot. And Odra's like, he's so cool. And Philgi's like, what is cool about him? He just admitted he's a massive idiot who doesn't know how to talk to women. And wouldn't you know it, Kutane spots Edipirco, and immediately he is identified as being Kutane Njordir, said childhood friend that Edipirco was referring to. And Kutane's like, you have become very beautiful, my destined partner. Kneels down, takes her hand in his, and Odra's like, oh! And Edipirco grabs Oda by the arm and says, sorry, I've already found my own destined partner. And she's like, very embarrassedly, like, grabbing his arm and leaning into him, even though she clearly doesn't want to. And Hugin's like, you're such a fine couple. He's immediately like, yeah, I'm just going with this because the princess is doing it. Yep. And Oda's like, what's going on? So, oh man, we got to do a fake couple storyline. If in a million years, if you had told me to guess at the end of the last chapter where things are going to end up, would never have said Edipirco is going to make Oda pretend to be her boyfriend. Just, what is happening?
It does make a little bit more sense why we had to have this revelation now then, because it's like, oh, well, we're now going to have a character who's directly involved with her royal lineage. So it works in that way. Yeah, it's a fun little series, a fun little chapter, fun little bit. I do like this new character. I like the wind spirit. I assume is also going to be an important one. My brain has heard that there's 5 really important spirits, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I presume it's got to be some of the big ones, right? Some big elemental stuff, something along those lines.
Yeah, fire, air, table, heart. Yeah, that's got to be the 5th one, of course. And plutonium. It's a big element.
Yeah, it's probably one of the biggest ones when you think about it.
Yeah, it's very heavy.
Maybe poison type.
We gotta get a lot of coverage from these 5 spirits.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know what table's strong against, but like,
I'm sorry, wind, that means flying.
Yeah, and that's awful. That's terrible typing.
That's not a lot of coverage. We gotta get a fairy in there. We gotta get.
I was gonna say you need something to combat fairies, so that's why I'm saying poison type would be a good one, because dragon's gonna be bad. If there's a dragon spirit, it's fucked if they see a fairy spirit. And really, aren't all spirits kind of fairies to begin with? Just saying.
Yeah, that's true. All right,
Ping-Pong
Peril.
Ping-Pong Peril.
Yeah. God, Ping-Pong Peril has quickly become one of the series that I am most excited to read every single week. And yeah, this is great. Chapter 7, Tranquility. Right. So he's still got to go to school. He's still a high school student. Yeah. So we follow. Oh gosh, I'm still learning everyone's names. I remember Momo's name first for her brother. God damn it. because he's Tyra.
Tyra, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He's in class, and his friend is like, hey, you know any easy ways to make cash? And Tyra's like, why are you asking me? And he's like, oh, you should become a YouTuber or something, Tyra. But it's attention is called for everyone, and Tyra's like, man, it's actually like really peaceful in here. It's just very different change of pace. We are introduced to Suji, who is the advisor of the ping pong club. We have seen Suji before, haven't we? But Suji says, because everyone's like, hey, how'd your date go? And he's like, oh, it was awful. Everyone was great up until we finished watching the movie that you guys recommended. And then when I took her to my favorite action figure store, she got into a bad mood for some reason. I've been working out recently, so I guess I just gotta invent a love potion. And they're like, all right, you're weird, man. And Tyra's like, this is great. Love going to school. It's way easier than doing deathmatch ping pong. But Suji comes over because, he's the ping pong club advisor. And he's like, hey, you want to come by the ping pong club? Because I know you haven't been there in a while. And he's like, Sensei, I quit ping pong. Like, yeah, okay. Don't you want to don't you want to check out one of my anime figurine girls? Don't you want to take a look at that? Come on. Don't you want me to let me poke you with one of my injections? What an escalation of things. You want to come to ping pong club? You want to let me inject you with a mysterious chemical?
You want to just let this little poke and just slurp that right up?
With the syringe already in hand. But he says, I noticed though that you were in a good mood. You're not you're not as reserved as you usually are. So I figured maybe you'd gone over some things, the fact that you had that big thing that made you quit ping pong. Ooh, and we get a little flash of that of Tyra not taking a loss so well. It looks like, but Tyra says it's not because of that. If I am actually doing better. But Tyra is suddenly called for over the intercom, and so he heads to the AV room for some reason. And Mitsuki is there, and she's dressed as a teacher. And she says, yo, I came to hang out for a bit. Which I love as an introduction. I'm here to bother you, basically. So Tyra says, why isn't the security guard doing his job? How'd you get in here? And she says, well, I have come to teach you a lesson, Tyra. You've won 3 ping pong panic matches, which means it's time for your promotion match. And Tyra's like, what are you talking about? She says, well, you're 1 million yen in debt. You're getting 1 million yen per win, and you're 1 billion yen in debt. That'll take you a really long time. You'd have to win 1,000 times to get out of debt. And Tyra goes, she's right. It's just great because he's like, yeah, I wasn't really thinking about
just
that.
Suddenly realized it.
That's how math works. But
I'm good at ping pong, not math.
Mitsuki explains you're currently in beginner rank, and you can ascend to a higher rank, which will allow you to bet more money and thereby win more money. If you get to rank 5 from beginner rank, you can get 5 million yen per match instead. What better? That's, even if he were to stay at that rank, that's 200 matches he's got to win instead of 1,000 in order to get out of debt. But he recognizes that means that since he'd be going up against higher ranked opponents, it'd be crazier matches, more dangerous matches. Oh no. But Mitsuki takes him out to an old gymnasium that's on the school grounds. And Tyra thinks to himself, it's okay, though. I just got to treat this like any other match, which is just that I got to win no matter what's thrown at me. He goes in, and there's just an ordinary-ass ping pong table sitting in the arena. And so he's like, this is really, really normal. Are we just going to play normal ping pong? And he's like, I'm actually kind of disappointed by that. Coming in through the entrance, of course, it's Suji Sensei.
Yes.
And he's got 5 million yen in hand. And Tyra's like, well, you're my opponent? And he's like, wow, I guess I guess the ping pong players are just everywhere. So he's like, all right, I'll get my cash out. But he realizes like, oh, I've only got 3 million yen and we're betting 5 million yen. So what do I do? And he turns to Mutsuki and Tsuji says, no, I've already talked that over with her. He pervs out over Tyra's sister Momo.
Yes.
Moving on. We're just gonna move past that. I do like that Tyra's reaction to that is like, wait, you're valuing that over 2 million? You should at least price her at 5 quadrillion yen. It's like, I do appreciate it. It's like,
he's a
fuck
supportive
you,
brother. Yeah.
Not only are you creeping out, but you're also undervaluing her by an infinite margin. He has a wacky reaction to it. And Tyra's like, it doesn't matter though. I know Tsuji Sensei because, like, he's been like the club advisor the entire time I've been playing ping pong. He's basically an amateur. He used to be in a club, but he's not actually that good. So that's fine. I've got a normal ping pong table to play at, and my opponent's a small fry. I'll just dominate this, and I'll get promoted, and then I'll be making more money. This is great. And then Tsuji goes, hang on a second, pokes himself in the arm, and he immediately goes, hulks out, bursting out of his clothes. And he says, yeah, I gotta give myself at least this much. Let's begin. And his shirt rips open. He's got like some sort of like anime figurine. I think it's the same as the figurine he was showing Tyra earlier too on his t-shirt underneath it. And Tyra realized like, oh, you're the weird thing in this match.
I love that line so much. Oh, you're the weird part of this match. Like, he just knows. He's like, there's always something weird about these. This is a normal arena. What could Oh, this guy injects himself like fucking Dr. Mundo. I get it. Okay.
If he starts talking like Mundo, this is the best series ever. Yeah. There was, I think, probably the first misstep in this series, which is like, oh god, someone's just like creeping out over the girl in a situation that she's otherwise uninvolved in things. Don't like that, but at least it leads to an actual joke immediately after, and then we're just moving on from that to like the normal stuff that the series is strong at. So looking forward to seeing this and seeing like, hey, there's probably going to be a bit more emotional stakes in this because of that history that Tsuji is aware of in terms of why Tyra quit.
Indeed. Nick, it's Kiyoshi.
It's Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi, and wouldn't you know it, we only just beat Astaroth. He's dead now. He's gone. That bad fight can't hurt us anymore, Quinn.
Except for like the first 2 pages here, we have to recap it again.
It's gone. It's gone. Kiyoshi's beaten the Great Demon Lord. We get a very brief moment of Mukurojima, who is still alive, and summon all the zombified demons back. It's like, oh, fine then. I remember this, you blasted exorcist. And Sakaki appears behind him and is like, where do you think you're going? Attack! Kills him dead. Explodes him. Rips out his fucking heart and explodes it. What the hell?
Gotta make sure he's dead.
And Sakaki is like, I kept my promise, Yuta. Thank you, Kiyoshi. Kiyoshi has, collapsed into Akari's arms, and he shortly after wakes up in the hospital and is, surrounded by everyone else who is also like in hospital garb, it seems like, but they are visiting him. He's swarmed by Akari and Jackjo and Nehan, and also Akari's friend. I don't remember her name.
She's like the girl who's a member of Sosuke's group, right?
Sosuke's squad, yeah.
Not remember her name either. I'm going to call her Lightning Lemon.
Lightning Lemon.
Yeah,
okay.
She looks like she would have blonde hair.
She looks like she would have. Oh, because it's just light colored?
Yeah, it's light colored, yeah. So it's got to be blonde, right? What other color could it be?
Nehan and Jackjo explain, oh yeah, we learned to fight and stuff, and they explain how they took out a demon lord, and Kiyoshi praises them, which is cute. And Kiyoshi's like, we did it. We protected the city with our strength. And they do explain, obviously there was damage, but things went really well in general. Hijiri nearly died, but he's gonna pull through. And then Kiyoshi remembers Sosuke, He's like, oh, well, what about Hitsuki? And they both Nehan and Lightning Lemon are like, oh, he's already. And Kiyoshi's like, it can't be. And immediately Sosuke, through the parting curtain in the bed right next to Kiyoshi, pulls his eyes. I'm not dead.
Hey, dude.
I'm right here. And they're like, yeah, we didn't say anything about you. Come on, dude. Why are you just like lurking over there? Come talk to him with us. Sosuke's arm is still all bandaged up because, of course, it was heavily damaged in that fight that he had. He says it's not a big deal, but we don't really have any indication of like if there's permanent damage to it or not. He just says, it's not a big deal, which could mean anything, really.
Yeah.
He's alive and he's going to keep on being an exorcist, it seems. He says this a little bit of damage like this is better than me having to break my promise with you, which is nice. And Kiyoshi says that their promise also gave him strength. Aw, isn't that nice? Akari's brother comes in, and Akari thinks that he's going to harass Kiyoshi, but instead he grabs him and says, like, thank you for keeping her safe. And he says, now I know that I can leave her to you. I'm glad to have you, little brother. And Akari's like, what the fuck are you talking about? No! And like, stop that. So then Sakaki comes in, and he is doing great. He's like, good job exercising the demon lord, Kiyoshi. And he says, let's go and celebrate. They go to the gates of hell, where poor Diego has to make food for everyone. This guy has probably been working like 7 straight days at this point. Kawagami, is that her name? She comes in with Yoko Ono and another guy from the squad. I don't know him. And so she sits with Kiyoshi and it brings up the fact that, hey, you were all big hero and stuff, and you carried me princess style and everything. And Kiyoshi gets, self-conscious about that, but then she says, I feel confident in trusting myself to your care. And then is like, I'm going to go on a date with you now and stuff, and which gets Akari upset, blah, blah, blah. Yoko Ono, it's very nice to Akari for being brave and helping out Kiyoshi and stuff. And she says, hey, you went to save Kiyoshi? Well, you saved me too. You did a good job. Aw, ain't that nice? Sosuke is really impressed by the omurice, and they're like, who is the chef? I must know. And everyone's like, it's Kiyoshi.
God damn it.
Immediately changes gear because he goes from, I must pay my compliments to the chef. Yeah, it could be better. Could be better.
Could use a little less salt.
And then Sakaki and Hijiri go out and they visit Yuda's grave, and they're like, and it turns out that they buried him next to Sister Ryoko so that they can be together in death. And there's a little moment as they're walking away where Sakaki feels like he senses their spirits together. And as they leave, Hijiri's like, hey, what is it? And Sakaki says, no, don't worry about it. And that's it. Chapter 57, The Black Parade finale. So we're past that. And, yep. End of that arc of Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi. There were some good parts, but it really didn't end on a great note.
I hope this isn't what I feel like when we get to the away mission in World Trigger. Like, I hope I'm like a little more pumped and I'm not just like, oh, thank God. At least that's done with. Yeah, Black Parade. It was an arc. It had some fun parts, but
it really did. But the most important part wasn't that fun, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Marriagetoxin.
Marriagetoxin, chapter 138. We get a more full introduction to the Nasu family of doll users. As the Fire Clan declined, the Nasu family expanded in power and influence and secured their place in the top 5 families. But in sharp contrast to the recognition and influence their name commands, no one seems to know who they truly are. Not only are their appearances unknown, but their abilities as specialists also remain shrouded in mystery, which makes it feel like we could get a ton of reveals to a lot of long-standing threads that could all be linked to the doll users.
We get an answer to one of them in this chapter.
One of them, yeah. As it all indications seem to point to Sensei was just this guy in disguise the whole time that Garo knew him, seemingly. But he's like, what is this guy after? Why is he involved with our family? And he's gearing up for a fight, but Nasu just starts applauding and says, well done, Hikaru-sama. I see you've discovered the surveillance photos hidden in the drone user's files. And Garo realizes, oh, you left those for us to find on purpose. And Nasu says, of course! Considering your capabilities, I believed it would be too harsh to leave without a single clue. Though, to be honest, I would have rather you noticed my presence when you were dealing with the Fire Clan. And of course it was him. Like, that's... Of course it was him. Like, that's not really a shock.
I mean, it was a shock for me when I read it. I was like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot about that dude back then. So, I don't know, it was a fun way to tie it back into that arc and to kind of show that, I don't know, the Nasu doll stuff was really planned out a while ago.
Yeah. He's presumably just been, like, there in all these arcs that we've been reading since the Fire Clan arc, probably.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, he teases Garo because he's like, maybe you were just distracted because Ushio-san was clinging to you from behind. Because we know, like, yeah, he was creeping on them from the attic while that was happening. But Nasu's got business here, and he says to Shiori, congratulations. I would like to inform you that you passed as well. And he starts reaching out towards her, but Garo intercedes, gets in the way. My lamp just got bumped by my stupid gesture. And Garo says, I'm not going to let you lay a finger on her. And Nasu says, how dashing! If only you had been able to protect Himekawa-san and Akakura-san like this as well. Yeah, Garo knew that they were being watched by this guy, but he didn't know that he had abducted them. He says, they also passed my strict inspection, so I've taken the liberty of collecting them myself. And Garo thinks to himself, I was staying in contact with those two through messages, and because they've physically been away from the people closest to them, I didn't have any indication that they were missing during this time. So has it just been the doll user who's been replying to my messages the whole time? And he's like, what have you done with them? He gets his gauntlet needles out, and he's like, I'm going to make you, I'll force you to tell me if you won't tell me. And Nasu says, let's not go down that route. And binds Garo in a whole bunch of threads with his super doll user powers and just holds Garo perfectly still in place. And he says, I believe I told you how you should deal with a superior opponent. And the lessons that Sensei had taught Garo were, if a superior opponent has you down, don't attempt to strike back, run away for dear life, but if it looks like they're going to kill you, finish the job yourself before they do. Ugh. And Nasu says, I think you've misunderstood my intentions. And while Garo is frozen in place, he goes up, cups his cheek, and says, I am on your side, Hikaru-sama. Curb your bloodlust. And one more thing. Please forget everything about the marriage swindler. No, you have no need for that meddler. You just have to follow my teachings. And Garo reacts in shock, and the faces of all the people that he has bonded with through the series flash through his mind. So the 6 girls that are his girlfriends at this time. And then, of course, Kinosaki's face. And Garo goes limp briefly and then lashes out in one go. All the threads snap off of them, which shocks Nasu, not just because he broke free of the threads, but he broke free of my teachings, which I don't know exactly.
He hasn't really seemed on board with your teachings in a while.
But, the triumphant strike back. Nasu just punches Garo in the face and sends him flying. His glasses fly off. What a punch. Garo smacks into the wall. Shiori goes to his side, and Nasu says, you leave me with no choice. Since you insist, will you be satisfied if I lay my plans bare? Plans I have intricately woven for none other than you, Hikaru-sama. And that's where we leave off on, as he says, like, I'll just tell you what I've been up to. Will he?
I'm super stoked for him to do that because I really want to know what the plan is. So I'm actually like super excited that we'll potentially get like an explanation for a lot of things next chapter. But I also do really like that, you know, Garo breaks free of his thing, and I was sitting there like being like, yeah, I mean that's just sort of the series this is. Like the hero has always been. It's kind of nice seeing Garo get like immediately punched when he does do that. It wasn't just like I'm free, I've beaten you now kind of thing. It was like, you've gotten stronger, but not strong enough. Slap.
Yeah, we've had a lot of information in terms of the how. Nasu has been doing a lot of this stuff. Not all the details, but you know, given a pretty solid framework of it. But no real indication as to why. So that's kind of the thing that I feel like I'm really excited to learn about.
Mm-hmm.
New Exorcist, Chapter 111, Aurora of Blazing Flame. Okay, so Kiyoshi slashed Suzuku, and it hit her, and but she's not down because, as Nui indicates, your attack was perfect, but it wasn't lethal. And there's a little doll that has been cut in half instead of Suzuku, and she says, this was a present for you and Ishu, and I'd filled it with all the energy I could in order to protect you two. So she had a protection charm that she was going to give to Ishu, and she had it on her person instead. So yeah, she's like, was this the price of hastening my resurrection? I'm physically incomplete. And why didn't I notice? Did someone sabotage me? This won't do. And then Nue's like, oh, wait, you did fatally wound her, because her body is starting to react in a delayed sequence. And so Gakuro's like, okay, I gotta get her. And Suzuka's like, am I going to die here? And she flashes back, I suppose, or she gets an image of like all her maid family or whatever surrounding her and, you know, fawning over her and being in love with her and stuff. And so she thinks, I can't die yet. I must live with my family and guide them and see them to their futures. And flames erupt off of her. Flames from the ice-themed villain, you see. And so when that happens, Nue explains, Suzuku is actually the hero who presides over fire. She repressed her power to keep from hurting her family, sealing her own flames, and her family constantly supplied her with cold air. And Gakuro says, why would she do that? Because her effect on her surroundings is too great. Just by existing, her flames consume everything around her. Suzuku's family may all be level 4s, but even they wouldn't have been able to live with her. And Suzuku is like, this is farewell, because now she's resorting to the flames instead of the ice. I guess. We were told that like anyone who got close to her would be instantly frozen by her aura, but I guess it was actually a hot aura the whole time.
I think it's so fucking funny that this series was like, no! What a twist! The ice-themed villain is actually fire-themed! Like, who gives a shit? Like, what is this?
And in her visual of like all her maids, she's like, you know, embracing them one last time while they like burn up around her. And she also says to the distant figure of Ishu, forgive me for leaving while we're at odds. I would have liked to stroke that rosy hair you take such pride in one last time.
I don't. It would be really dangerous to other people if you were really cold as well. Like if you were really, really cold. Like you don't have to be really, really hot for it to be.
No, absolutely wrong. No, the cold would be fine.
It's truly like I just don't understand. Like where they're like, I ran out of cold design techniques and stuff like I don't have any more ice stuff in mind. So
what kind of a hack shonen action writer can't get through one fight before they're like, I'm out of ice power.
I have no more ice ideas. I did a big ice statue. I'm all out of ideas at this point.
So all that burns up while Suzuku promises I swear that I will ensure that Gakuro Yajima is yours, Ishu. And she unleashes her true hollow weapon, Blazing Phoenix. Look at all them wings. What's second seer released, level 5, Crimson Radiant Suzaku. I'll burn it all to ash. Yes, you in the back, yes.
What's happening, Nick? I don't...
What's happening?
There are true hollow weapons? There's a level 5? Like, what? Everything's just being revealed, and I was like, is this all known information? That there's just true hollow weapons beyond the 2 she already had?
Yeah, why not? Anyway, she's got a bunch of wings now. And Nue's like, oh no, she's going after Kazusa and the others. Yeah, I know that it's shorthand, but you didn't say anyone else in that team, just Suo. Okay. So Gakuro has to quickly zip over on Xenodark in order to try and help out his friends. Ishu, I guess, gets the communication that Suzuku's on her way, and Ishu's like, it's okay, I'll protect all of you against the fire with my flammable thread powers. So Suzuku shows up, and everyone's kind of like, I guess in the time before Nue gave her order, Ishu's knowledge of Suzuku spurred her into action. That's the narration. Yeah, we could see that happening. Whatever. Thank you, narration box. So Suzuku throws her hollow weapon. It's like a giant lance, and Ishu makes a giant barrier with her thread and goes, hot! Yep.
That's what I say very frequently when the frozen pizza I take a bite out of it too quickly and I just go, hot!
Ishu put her hair into this, we are told, because like you just kind of have to like be seeing that her hair is shorter. Like there's no panel that indicates her. She has thread in her hand before this, but there's no indication it's attached to her head, and there's nothing that happens to her hair.
Nick,
there's no morph effect.
She did an important haircut. You have to let her have this. It's illegal to not let her have this.
You gotta show her doing something with her hair if you're gonna do this, though. You can't just cut to her having short hair. So she's got short hair because she's put her hair into this. Her very important hair, which I don't know if I'd been told prior to this chapter that it was important to her.
Did not remember she had long hair. I do not remember this character until she interacts with someone in a way that I'm like, I think that's the girl who works for Suzuna.
And so Suo says, Ishu, your hair that we all knew was important to you. And Ishu says, I used up several centuries worth of absorbed energy to make this shield. I saved up that power for Gakuro, and now's the time to use it. I mean, you didn't know it was going to be for him over several centuries, though. The boys.
Yeah, you just met him.
Anyway, you just met him. So all the evacuees have escaped, so it's just down to Team Gakuro, and Ishu's like, you guys get out too while I'm guarding you. I'll regenerate. It's okay. Don't worry about me. And her hands are starting to burn up. But instead of doing that, Shitotsu puts her hand on Ishu's arm and is like, use my power too. And she says, our captain is Gakuro. You think he'd approve of a strategy that sacrificed one of ours? We'll all protect each other and we'll all survive. And, it's a thing because like Shitotsu was the one who like didn't trust Ishu before because she was like, you're one of the Suzuki's people and stuff. So now she's like fully trusting her. Okay. So Ishi's like, okay, I'll do that. And she's making the shield, but it's immediately burned through, and we don't really get any indication that, like, being supplied with the additional power had any effect, honestly. Like, there's no indication of a struggle happening, because Gakuro just jumps in, and then he saves them all. Hooray!
Also, the thing that I was really tickled by is, I've got to hold up the shield. All my girls, come around me. We'll all hold up the shield together. And then when you get the full zoom down shot,
has the speed power for us to dodge this.
And then once you zoom out a little bit, you also see that Marito is there, or whatever his name is, the fucking the knife guy. And I'm like,
that's true. Yeah.
I'm like, why didn't he get to be in the like, all right, ladies, let's get this shield. Like, let's keep this shield together moment. Let's all share our energy.
This is clearly a harem shield, and I'm not getting anywhere near that. And so Gakuro comes zooming in on Xenodark, so it's like, okay, let's all get away from here and we'll all survive. And it's like, yes, Gakuro, definitely the fastest person in this group of people that includes Suo, who was just standing there with her hand on someone to supply their stationary shield instead of getting them on her transportation hollow weapon in order to get them away. Okay, so that happens. And then all of the lance is still piercing down, but Gakuro says, it's all right. And then we get Nue declaring hollow weapon number 2, Star Slave. And she starts talking in a different language. And she says, now I'll reward your efforts with everything I have. And so Nue is going to step in again.
God, I've been like, when is Gakuro going to get a new power-up? It's been 5 chapters since our special little boy has gotten a little bit stronger.
Oh my goodness.
Didn't he just take someone else's hollow weapon and make it his own?
Yes! He's used that hollow weapon more than Suzaku has.
Oh my god.
10 out of 10 no notes.
It's like a 10 out. Look, here's the thing. I don't hate this series because it's at least interesting in how bad it is. I was able to note, I was like, I don't understand why she's fire themed if that seems like random and out of nowhere. Okay, Gakuro's got a new power up. I love that fucking knife guy was just hanging out behind him. The art's kind of just dog shit throughout this whole chapter. I don't know. I like every garbage part of this sometimes. It's been a little bit since we've had a good hate read.
Fire and ice, you come on like a flame, then you turn a cold shoulder. I want to give you my love, but you'll just take a little piece of my heart. You'll just tear it apart. It's Pat Benatar. Sorry.
Oh, love is a battlefield.
Well, yes, but it's from a song called Fire and Ice. So.
Da, 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 da. We are strong. Nick, come on, let's do the shoulder shimmy dance.
No, I'm not going to do that.
All
no.
right.
Wrong Pat Benatar song. You want to get me into it, you got to do...
Hit me with your best shot.
Oh, that's also a really good one. I really like Outlaw Blues, and All Fired Up.
Yeah.
She has a lot of good stuff in her discography. Anyway, Akane-banashi! Story 171, The Art of the Exterior. So, while Karashi is doing his performance, we get more of his time training with Master Samaite. He explains that, look, the root of what comes from within you is outlook. Little ant, the outlook of a fox. Do you understand it? And Karashi, reflects for a brief moment. He's like, no. And he's like, you can understand a person's thoughts and actions from the text of a story, but a fox is an animal. You can't tell what an animal's feelings are. Why'd you ask? And Samate's like, I just thought it was adorable how hard you thought about it. These fucking assholes. Great. But he says, even with humans, not animals, temperament, way of thinking, morals, and individual beliefs, all these things can interfere and prevent one from grasping the mindset of the character. So what do you do? The secret art that is the counterpart of outlook. Outward. The form of Sanmei Te. And we get back more into Karashi's performance as the main character, Sadakichi, who is, investigating into this, affair that has been rumored, takes the money for expenditures and spends it at the theater and goes into this big packed house where all the members are staring at the stage. And the play has 2 characters in it. One is the mistress that is being investigated here. She picks up her gift from Yoshitsune, the Hatsune drum, and Karashi mimes picking up this drum and plays it, pretends to play it. And everyone is, watching very closely. And then the character played by the celebrity in question exposes his true nature. And in a moment that well and truly actually shocked me, Karashi, from his Seiza position, jumps off the cushion that he's on.
I have no idea. I'm like, you have some crazy fucking shin strength or something.
From being on his knees, he jumps like 3 feet in the air.
I'm like, that's hops. I don't know if I can do a vertical like that standing up. I probably can, right? Yeah, I'm sure I can.
The knowledgeable judge realizes that what Karashi is doing is Rakugoized kabuki. And it's like, this is, common enough in Rakugo that there's actually a name for the genre, theater stories. But as Karashi proceeds with it, he gets into it and it's like, I know what you are, fox spirit. And we go back into the explanation of the form of Sanmete, the art of the exterior. And Master Sanmete says, for every age, gender, occupation, there are postures and gestures that you can represent physically. What I will teach you is the way to embody each of these roles. Have no fear. I will not teach you vague esoterica. The fundamentals are right here. What did I tell you? Become me. Eyeline, spine curvature, hand placement, grip. You will differentiate each role starting from the way you sit. Even the act of drinking tea has countless variations. You will learn all of my motions until they are second nature. And then, and Karashi finishes the thought, it's working backward. If Auluk starts from the inside and goes out, this is the reverse. You start from the physical to capture the mental. And as he proceeds with this, Kashio realizes that from the emphasis on form, it does have that affinity with kabuki because Karashi's movements are all smooth and practiced. And, we did know before that Karashi was doing all these outside art forms and learning them. Apparently, all under Sanmete's very close tutelage. And learning not just to do them, but to do them in different ways for all characters to represent them. The heart within moves those who see it. The art of embodiment. And as he finishes a portion of the performance, the audience applauds, which is not something we've seen very much of at all. Like, we've seen like eruptions of laughter, but not a whole lot of like, yeah, like in the middle of a performance. Mm-hmm. So definitely a big thing. And Hikaru is observing all this, and she thinks back to what Karashi had said, which was, I'm not going to just challenge that Rakugo-obsessed fool on skill alone. And Hikaru says, look who's talking. Fucking bullshit. Karashi's manager / childhood friend is observing all this as well, and thinks back to a conversation they had earlier, which is, if you make it more cynical and modern, you'll get like a bigger reaction, won't you? And Karashi goes, so shallow. I'm going for the win, but it's more than that. The reason I'm doing a false classic now is...
We'll find out next episode.
Into the chapter.
Yep. Good chapter. I like, I'm trying to remember his name. Sanmete? Sanmete. I like his teaching. I like the way he explores this. Rakugo is not explicitly like an acting series, but acting is obviously a very large part of it, and I'm always interested to see acting explored. I liked his way of like trying to be like, here's how to capture a role that you don't understand. Like, you're going to start with the mannerisms, the movements, and all these things, and then you will look inward to start to see what comes from that. And I think that's, a good thing. Really good technique and style to go for it. It made it seem very cool. So yeah, I really like this one.
Yeah, good stuff. That's it for this week, Quinn. So can you tell me what your favorite chapter was and who your MVP was?
I think my favorite chapter is going to be Akane-banashi. It was a really, really good chapter. I like the character development that we got here, and I'm very intrigued to find out what Karashi's reason for doing this false classic. I just kind of want to hear more about what he's doing. He is Akane's rival, after all.
Yeah, her only rival.
It's specifically her only rival, which is very funny because then I'm not just ignoring Hikari, I'm ignoring like 3 other characters who are like her self-proclaimed rival.
Well, and like ignoring the one that she considers her actual rival, who we haven't seen very much of at all
Yeah.
because he's at such a higher level. So, yeah, Kaisei is like way above them probably. But anyhow, my favorite chapter this week, I think I'm gonna go with. Oh God, it's kind of hard because the dramatic side I want to give to Marriagetoxin, but honestly, the unexpected nature of that chameleon's a building now of Dandadan, I think is gonna do it for me.
Yeah.
In addition to just the great panel of Vamola going wabam and punching a dude through a column, and also the dramatic stakes that were expounded on in that. So very exciting chapter of Dandadan going ahead. But Marriagetoxin was also very good.
Yeah.
MVP. Pretty easily Komugi. It was a chapter named after her, and we got a lot more in touch with like, hey, this is why this is like one of the main heroes of this series. Like, she's a very plain girl who just like kind of keeps herself and is quiet, but she has that energy where she, is a big nerd about stuff and has that, that nerdiness is how she represents her bond with her friends, which is very sweet.
Absolutely. I agree. I think I was debating between Komugi or Natsu, but I think I'm going to go with Komugi. It was a good chapter showcase for her. I really like that moment with her, like, still, like, being unable to stop writing. She's just so excited. I was like, that's a moment you can really inspire a lot of people with that. Yeah. The audience, by the way, picked doubled up. It's Komugi one character of the week, and Ichi the Witch one chapter of the week.
All right. That's gonna do it for Weekly Manga Recap, everyone. We want to thank you for joining us. We record the show here on twitch.tv/RoloT Wednesday evenings. We usually start around 7:30 to 8 Eastern time. But if you want to know exactly when we go live, you can follow us on social media, Nick F Time, RoloT, Weekly Manga Recap, all on BlueSky. Or you can also join our Discord server, which will be linked wherever this is posted to. While you're on that Discord server, hey, we got a great community that discusses the chapters as they come out. You can use that as well to discover the Weekly Manga Recap Google Doc and make a recommendation for a series for us to check out in the future, or ask us a question that may be covered on a Q&A episode. And also just see all the stuff that we've covered in the past as well. It's a great reference document, and you can, find out some of the stuff that we have enjoyed in the past.
Yes.
We are on YouTube, youtube.com/Weekly Manga Recap. For the video version, it's got an opening sequence done by Milo Jack Stillitz and Wensleydale Cheddar. And also occasionally we get title cards done by Steve Man, whose artwork you can check out by just searching for Steve Man Art. You can find his stuff all across the internet. And we are on many podcast type places. Everything is hosted on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com, but you can also use iTunes and Spotify and all the podcast feed kind of places to listen if you've got a preference between those. It's time to figure out what we're going to take as a recommendation next, Quinn. So I know that it's my turn to pick for the September series, but I've decided we're not going to do Sadistic September. We're
what?
We don't have to do it, and so I don't have a Sadistic September pick, and so instead we're going to just proceed on with the plan that we were doing before, which is you had suggestion number 5 lined up for us.
I made a list, so 1 through 5. Yeah. 1. Going up a little bit crazier each time. So this is the most crazy, Nick. This is the craziest thing we could do. We can't do it. It's not accessible anymore. I wanted us to do Yuna and the Haunted Hot Spring.
Oh.
But that is no longer available online. I do believe that's one of the series that got taken down very recently. However, there is always a precious backup available, because when I sat there saying, like, what would be a crazy series for us to read right now? Well, there's maybe one that's been kind of sitting tangential to us for a while that feels like now would be
What
a
you talking
good
about?
time to just get into. I mean, Nick,
What you talking about?
we say sadistic, but in a way, can it also be
No.
nostalgic?
No sadistic September. Yeah, no. It's not sadistic
That's right.
September.
It's not. This is a nostalgic September because we're gonna embrace a little
It's not.
nostalgia this month. Okay,
Oh.
we're gonna be reading Fairy Tale. 100-year quest.
Oh. Oh. This isn't a good September at all.
No, of course it is. It's a nostalgic September.
No. This isn't alliterative at all. This is.
What if I told you the Spookmaster General is going to show up?
No.
I don't think I've ever heard that sound come out of you before. What do you mean, Nick? It's going to be great. It's all the things we loved about Fairy Tale, but still going.